Hey, it's Tim here, your average dungeon master and your amateur bar master. Today, I'm talking about Gen Con. So not only do I like making fantasy-themed cocktails and playing D&D at my table, but I love board games in general, tabletop gaming. Gen Con is a great place to do that, especially because I live in Indianapolis. And if you've ever thought about going to Gen Con, stay tuned because I'm going to talk a little bit about what to expect and how to plan. If you're a regular Gen Con attendee, listen in. I'll show you what I got this year, what I like to do at Gen Con, maybe share some tips with me in the comments about how you like to enjoy Gen Con. If you've only done Gen Con once or twice and maybe you haven't had a good time, well, I've got some tips for how I like to enjoy Gen Con and how I make it the best week of my year. So first of all, what is Gen Con? Gen Con is a huge game convention in the Midwest, and here in Indianapolis specifically, it's been for a while. It's 4 days of just hanging out with tabletop gamers and fantasy enthusiasts, having a great time. So first, my Gen Con always starts with my game group, No Rails Adventure Team. We run games at Gen Con. I've been doing it with them since 2016. We've been growing every year because we run great games and have great players come to our table. It started with us running Harry Potter role-playing games, which nobody else was doing and is still, to my knowledge, not doing on a large scale. Since then, we've added 5th edition battle arena type events that are 2 hours, just combat. Most of those games have prize support too, which is super fun. Our games are convention exclusive, and that's really what you want to look for when you go to Gen Con. If you haven't been before, you want to look for experiences and events that you can't do at home. So if you haven't been to Gen Con before, know this. You really need to plan ahead. It's not the kind of thing that you can just jump into last second and really get the most fun out of. I saw a lot of conversation this year about it's last minute. How do I get into Gen Con? I didn't realize it could sell out. I didn't realize I needed tickets. What can I do to get in? Well, the answer to that is really nothing. Last minute, you can't get into Gen Con and have a good time, especially if it sells out beforehand, which it did this year. To have the best experience, you really need to start planning as early as January for a convention in August. And if you're looking for your own hotel, it benefits you to even start earlier than that and find a place to stay. And staying downtown close to the convention within walking distance is really one of the best tips I can give you. If you can, find a hotel room that's close by that you can walk to the convention from. Saves you a lot of time in travel. It means you can do a lot more fun stuff at night. And you're part of that convention atmosphere the entire time you're down there. There's always people out playing in the lobbies of the hotels. There's people walking back and forth at all hours of the night. It really immerses you in that convention experience. Part 2 of the lifestyle of being downtown at Gen Con for those 4 days is eating. Good food down there is a huge part of my convention experience. Going to good restaurants, good food trucks specifically that are there for Gen Con is a big part of the convention experience for me. I really like good food. Finding good food downtown is not hard, especially when you're close to the convention center and can walk to and from restaurants from your hotel in the convention center. Now, planning for events specifically at Gen Con is a whole nother thing. If you're not familiar with the convention format, essentially Gen Con, the company, rents out the convention center and organizes the logistics for you to run games at Gen Con. Yeah, you. Anybody can run games at Gen Con. Take me, for example. We run games with our gaming group, and we grew from just running a few Harry Potter D&D narrative sessions to now running more than 2,000 people through our tables over the weekend. If you've got an idea for a game or see that someone else isn't running a game that you want to play, you can submit it as an event and you can run that game. Gen Con themselves don't run any games. It's all individuals and game companies. Some game companies come to demo their games and show them off professionally. Most of it is just individuals running games they want to play. So all those events that people submit get added to a catalog that you get to look at. So you get to look at that catalog ahead of time, plan for the events that you want to try and play. There's a limited number of tickets, obviously, because people are running those games and they have limited time. If there's an event that's hard to get into that you can't get in, think about running a game yourself for it. So once those events come out, you start to slot those into the times that you have available to you. You put together a calendar of what events you want to try and do. Because in May, when those tickets actually go on sale for those events, you need to be ready to submit your wish list for the events that you want to play in. Everybody's going to do that at the same time, and the system will prioritize based on who gets in there the microsecond before the next person. And then those wish lists get processed. You get the events that you're able to get. You can't get 2 events at the same time, so if you put in 2 at the same time, what you can do, this lower priority one gets sent to the next person who asks for it. By the time all that gets processed, you should have a schedule of some of the events you wanted to do. You're not going to get them all. oversubmit, and then get the events that you want to on your calendar, and then you can play with it from there. You can return those tickets through the next couple months, playing with your schedule to get it how you want. Now, I like to have a schedule of things to do at Gen Con. I'm not one that just wanders around all day, people watches and shops. I like to have something to look forward to. I leave a couple hours between most of my events so that I can walk through the exhibit hall and look at everything that's for sale. The exhibit hall is a vendor hall, essentially. You can go in and buy things from game companies and individual makers. You can also demo the games that are for sale there. So you can spend quite a bit of time demoing games in the vendor hall, but you're not going to play full games, and you're not going to have a private area to play them in. A lot of the time you'll have people looking over your shoulder seeing how the game is played while you're demoing it. That can be a good experience for a little while, but it's definitely not something you want to do for 4 days. It's also not a guarantee that you're going to get in to be able to demo that game that you want to play. A lot of games in high demand, you're not going to be able to just sit down at a demo and play, especially not for very long. So plan some time for the vendor hall a couple times, if not once a day, to go through, look at the things you want to buy, demo some of the games you want to try, and then by the end of the weekend, maybe Saturday, probably Sunday, you can go back in and purchase a lot of those things. You don't want to be carrying them around during the entire convention. Another reason to have a good connected hotel or close by is that if something is on sale early that you know is going to be in high demand and maybe sell out, get it early, take it back to your hotel. Some of the cool stuff that I look for in the vendor hall is unique things that I can't get in a normal game store. Of course, I do like to look for games with exclusives. That's a big thing. So, for example, I bought this game from DeVere Games, Cities. Well, I'm a city planner, so I love Cities. You can see that, Cities zoned out. But this had an exclusive card for Indianapolis and Essen. Essen has a game convention as well, so I'm sure they sold it there. But I got the one for Indianapolis not only because I live here, because I'm a city planner here, but because it's a convention exclusive. I also love the Star Wars deck building game, a 2-player deck building competitive game, and they're releasing a Clone Wars expansion, and they had convention exclusive art for Obi-Wan and General Grievous cards. Last year I got convention exclusive cards with art for the starter planets, so building a unique version of this game for myself. There's also things like deeply discounted games. These 2 games, didn't try them, never heard of them before, but they were $5 each, so I bought them. Other games that you've never heard of, you walk by it, you see somebody demoing that game, you walk up to them and say, hey, what's this game about? Played a quick round of this game, Skyrockets, from, Floodgate Games. Really enjoyed myself, and they had a convention deal there. It was 20% off if you buy 2 games, so I bought that, and then this dice building or dice drafting stained glass window game called Sagrada and an expansion. Things like that I look for at Gen Con also. Another couple sets of exclusive cards. A lot of the time you'll find companies have additional cards. So this game, Biomass, had an exclusive, convention exclusive scoring card. And then Gloomhaven, which released a new 1-player version called Buttons and Bugs this year at Gen Con. That's not exclusive to the convention. It's early available at the convention, which a lot of people are excited about. But then they also included 2 convention-exclusive scenario cards for it. So picked that up because we really like Gloomhaven. And then besides the games, which take up a lot of space, especially something like this and this, to walk back to your hotel, I like to look for little unique things at Gen Con. Lots of game and fantasy themed knickknacks like cups. Got a little collapsible dice tower here, Star Wars themed, very cool. Little shot glass with 2d6 in the bottom of it with Gen Con on it. Things like tea and absinthe is a store that's always at Gen Con, has been for a while, that I like to get tea from. A bunch of that, drinking some of it now, thank you. A lot of merchandise there too, a lot of shirts, a lot of cosplay themed goods like leather shirts and corsets and sheaths and things for your cosplay weapons. Something else unique that I found here is a wand. Like I said, we run a Harry Potter game, so I got a wand for myself in this nice display case. A wooden handcrafted wand. Not only is it a wand, but the booth itself had different handles and then different tips, and the tips are pins. So you can undo your wand there and use it as your pen for your game, or also use it for your cosplay as a wand. Cool exclusive, unique, handmade stuff like that is what I look for first at Gen Con. So besides the vendor hall, you've got all the events. They're in the connected spaces within the convention. There's a large area in the convention space that is separated tables for games, but then there's also games in all of the connected conference spaces, all the rooms that are off the convention centers, and then all the conference rooms in the hotels that are connected. There's also games now in Lucas Oil Stadium. There's a ton of space out there. A lot of space, a lot of different areas. Your games are going to be spread out all over the convention and connected hotels. There's an airplane going by right now. Then as far as going to Gen Con, maybe not having the best time the first time, well, like I said, plan far ahead. Look for games that are unique to Gen Con, that offer unique experiences for groups. You know, even if you're not going with a group, do something that either has a high player count. There's a lot of social games with high player counts that as a solo player you can let go and really, you know, do something unique, not worry about what other people are going to think. You don't have anyone there that you're probably ever going to see again, or maybe you're going to make great friends with them. Either way, good time. Like I said, our games offer prizes, something that's unique to Gen Con. Other games that I've played in have like charity raffle. I was able to play in some older games. Star Wars Miniatures is a game that's out of print that not many people still play, but at Gen Con there's people playing it. So I like to play Star Wars Miniatures at Gen Con. Things like that I can't do at home, can't do on a normal day-to-day basis. So hopefully, if you haven't been to Gen Con before, you'll give it a try. If you went and didn't like it, you'll give it another try with some of my tips. And if you go every year, you'll say hi to me next time. Subscribe to the channel, Cocktail Adventurer on YouTube. See me adventuring at Gen Con and play some No Rails Adventures games. See you there. Cheers.